Hey guys, what's up? I'm CJ and welcome back to my galaxy. Today we're talking all things Hunger Games, and there's a little grey tail in the background. That's my cat, Willow, so she might appear somewhere over here throughout the video because she's just hanging out, you know, as a cat does. So we're talking about Sunrise and the Reaping today, and as you've probably seen by the title, we're talking about what sort of perspectives are likely to be the narrator of Sunrise on the Reaping. There are a lot of different theories going around, and I'm going to be talking about the theories that I personally think are most plausible at the end of this video. And I'm going to start the video with the ones that I think are less plausible, and I'll explain why. My cat Willow, her pretty little face. And just as a disclaimer, right, first of all, I'm gonna not be editing this video a whole heap just because I'm not feeling like I want to edit heaps today. And also, just because I think your theory isn't plausible, I've put it at the beginning of this video, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. You know, I'm just one opinion. You know, if I'm proven wrong and your theory was at the beginning of this video and that's actually who the narrator is, you can come and make fun of me on this video all you want. Feel free. I am, once again, just one opinion. So with that said, let's get into the perspectives, right? I think one of the ones that I'm seeing a lot in my comment section personally at the moment is the perspective of a career tribute. Kind of like Cato, getting the perspective of Cato in the 74th Hunger Games. We didn't, but if we did, it'd be quite interesting. I think it would be, because that would be like Cato's epiphany he had in the arena, that essentially he was like, oh, this was all for nothing. And what was her name? Coral in the prequel. It couldn't have all been for nothing, that line that she has in the movies. I don't think it's in the books. At least I don't think so. My cat just knocked my camera. Freaking Willow. So I don't think that's a whole lot plausible, just because they're gonna be dying in the middle of the 50th Hunger Games. You know, we know Haymitch wins already, and we know another one, specifically not the career tributes as a whole, but like as District 1, the District 1 girl who comes second, and honestly coming second in the Hunger Games is still losing. So, because she still ended up dead, and I think a lot of people think that it could be her, the unnamed District 1 girl, I think it was. And no, I don't think that's very plausible, simply because they die in the middle of the books and we've already gotten a lot of information about the games specifically. And we're probably not going to get a whole heap about the games, especially in the prequel. At least in the books, we didn't see a whole heap about the games. A lot of it was Snow's lead up to the games, and the fact that there was a lot of people who died. You know, it was games in their own right, but it wasn't the official 10th Hunger Games. And then there was a lot of Snow in District 12 as well. But, you know, that was something that I just thought that, you know, I don't think we're going to get more games, especially since Suzanne Collins specifically mentions that she's putting a lot of themes of propaganda, which is something like a theme that I think we're going to get into more with the perspective that I think is more plausible. I just don't think there's going to be any characters that die. You know, it's not going to be one of the tributes. It's not going to be one of the career tributes specifically, because it just would not be a very long novel at all. The next one that I don't think is totally plausible either is like Maisie Donna specifically. You know, I mentioned that one of the tributes probably isn't going to be one of the narrators. And Maisie Donna once again dies in the middle of the games. And I know it'd be a super interesting perspective to get, but I just don't think that's possible. And yeah, I know guys, you're like, oh no, I would love to hear Maisie Donna, it'd be so interesting. It could happen. I just don't think Maisie Donna is a very plausible narrator, just because she just wouldn't have enough, I want to say, screen time. For the movie it makes sense, but whatever the equivalent of screen time is for books, she just would not have enough screen time to put out an entire story. No, it doesn't work in my brain. But along the lines of Maisie Donna, Haymitch, you know, I think, you know, that one immediately is like what comes to mind when you think of the 50th Hunger Games. Who won the 50th Hunger Games? Haymitch. But once again, who won the 10th Hunger Games? Yeah, I know it was probably Snow, and it kind of was Snow, but Lucy Gray, right? Lucy Gray won the 10th Hunger Games, and her story wasn't told by her. It was told by a third person. I was like trying to think of the word. I was like, it completely slipped my mind. Third person narrator from Snow's perspective. So it doesn't necessarily have to be from the perspective of the victor, just like it was with Katniss. I think just with Katniss, it's because, you know, she freed Panem, so we had to, that's why she's the main character, you know. I just don't think we don't necessarily need Haymitch, and I think if it was going to be him, they would have advertised as such. You know, it just would have made more sense and have a lot more hype around it. Not that there isn't hype, but there would have been more hype if, you know, it was Haymitch who was going to be narrating the novel. Once again, I feel like maybe, I don't know if it definitely will be, but it could be told from third person narrator if it's like from Snow's perspective again. I also don't think it's going to be Snow's. I know I did mention in one of my videos that it could be from Snow's perspective. Even if we got like a sequel to the prequel, I've said like before this new novel was announced. But I think because this is a YA novel, we're going to get a protagonist who is the age of like a young adult. So it'll be like between 16 to 18 years old. Snow was 18, Katniss was 16. So it'll be in, and Lucy Gray was 16 as well. So it'll be in like Haymitch's age range to appeal to the target audience. You know, you still have to keep in mind that there is a target audience for this novel, and that's likely how Suzanne Collins is writing it, and it doesn't make sense to have a YA novel without a YA protagonist. So that, unfortunately, guys, I know also rules out Tigress. I know, that really sucks. I know. Guys, really, I know a lot of people wanted Tigress as well, but I'm almost definitely confident Tigress she'll probably make an appearance, almost definitely as a stylist, but I don't think she's going to make an appearance as a narrator. Also rules out Mags. I've mentioned maybe hearing Mags as a character. I don't think she was a plausible narrator from the beginning, just because I don't think we necessarily need her story, because I think we can fill in the blanks ourselves as well, in the same way that we can with Finnick. And I know a lot of people want a Finnick novel, but I think Suzanne Collins is telling the stories of District 12 tributes, and she will very likely finish at Haymitch. However, I have seen people talking about how Peter could be like the new beginning of Panem, and possibly Suzanne Collins in the future could be writing a novel of like hope. We won't, if we get one from Peter's perspective, definitely won't be in the near future. It will be like when Suzanne Collins is dead, like she's left that manuscript and someone's found it and edited it. Like that's when we would get that sort of novel, you know. If we're going off of YA protagonists and a narrator for a YA novel, we have to look into which kids didn't die in the middle of those games, in the middle of the 50th Hunger Games, and which of the characters that we already know are going to be that age during the 50th Hunger Games, you know, 16, like Haymitch. So Haymitch's girlfriend, first of all, it could be one of them. I know that Suzanne Collins essentially loves love. That's how I would describe it. She loves love. Once again, though, the girlfriend does die. So that rules her out as well. But it could be from that kind of, I think it'll be the whole love theme. It'll be prominent, but once again, not a narrator. And I'm like sorting this out of my brain as we go. I don't know if you guys can tell, but okay. These next few narrators are one that I have seen so many people talk about because there are so many theories surrounding these characters. Mrs. Everdeen, Mr. Everdeen, Mrs. Malak. Highly doubt. Just cross that one out now. Won't be her. And Mr. Malak. Who was the other one? Maisley's twin sister, Madge's mother. And I don't know if people have mentioned this, but the mayor, Madge's father, don't think it'll be him. Maybe his family will make an appearance. I'm not really sure how they vote in mayors of districts or if they're appointed. I wonder if it runs in the family like a monarch. They've never really pointed that out. I always assumed as a kid that they elected them, but that doesn't make sense for Panem, right? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe they like rise up the ranks and they like start off as peacekeepers, and they're not actually like the mayor's daughter, the mayor's family. Maybe they're originally from the capital or district too. For every district, maybe. I completely went off topic there. But the mayor's wife, Madge's mother, Maisley's twin, I think I could definitely see that one happening, but I don't think it's the perspective that is going to be best for telling Haymitch's story, just unless there's a connection that Susan Collins has come up with that we aren't aware of yet, because she's, you know, she's just been creative with it. So, you know, maybe, but I'm not like 100% convinced. And then there's like the Everdeen's, Katniss's mother and father. Katniss's father has died by then, and I would not put it, by the time we get to 74th Hunger Games, he's dead, but I would not put it past Mr. Everdeen and Haymitch to have been friends, because they were both from the Seam. And District 12 is really, really small. So I think it was like 8,000 people. It was a few thousand. Not a lot of people lived in District 12 at all, especially compared to the American population. There's like 300 million of you guys. That's like crazy. There's only like 27 million Australians. And then going from 300 million to like a few thousand in one district is like crazy low numbers. Seeing a perspective of Katniss's father, I think would be like crazy interesting to see like who created Katniss and why is she like the way she is. And also Katniss being so much like Haymitch, you know, maybe that's because Mr. Everdeen had a lot of the same traits as Haymitch, because they were like so close. They were like besties. But also, if they were like best friends, wouldn't Mr. Everdeen also have been killed? So maybe they're not as close as I think they were. I've just like headcanoned them as like the same, like as best friends. But anyway, Snow would have figured that one out. And then there would have been Mrs. Everdeen. A lot of people pointing that out. Mrs. Everdeen, Katniss's mother, way too unlikable. Way too unlikable, very boring of a character. Once again, don't think it's like not entirely not possible, but also I'm not 100% convinced on this one. This is why like it's in the middle of the video, or wherever it is, it's in the middle of my theories, whatever, same thing. And yeah, no, I just don't see it happening. Also, I would want to throw hands at a fictional character, because why did she abandon her child when she needed you more than ever, huh? We don't even know her name. That's the one thing I'm excited about, is finding out all these parents' names. Like, I need to know them, because I don't want to constantly be calling her Katniss's mother. I need to know their names. And then Mrs. Malak, I already ruled out. Mr. Malak. That would be interesting, but also a love triangle that I don't want to read. You know, I'm sick of the love triangles. Get Gale out of there. Don't need freaking Mr. Malak losing the love triangle in the same way that Gale lost that love triangle, because there was no game to lose at that point. You know, true love, get out of my face. I don't want to know about it. God. But no, it would be quite interesting, because we know that he was very close, because he's from the merchant area. He would have been very close to the other merchant kids, like Mrs. Everdeen, and then it would have been the Maisley Donna and her sister as well. So he likely would have been in that group of kids. I think we're going to see all those characters, definitely, but I just don't think we're going to like see them and their perspective. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. So that's all the district perspectives that I think could be possible, but I really just don't think will happen personally. So let's get into the capital. I've already ruled out Tigress and Snow. And then we've finally got into the characters that I really think that could be possible. Actually, one of the ones that I've seen, which is insane as well, that I don't think so. Caesar Flickerman. No, zero chance. Because people think, I know on the fandom that a lot of people seem to think that Caesar Flickerman is all for like the kids and trying to help out. No! Did you read or even watch Mockingjay? In both the book and the movie, Caesar Flickerman, and I'm sorry to tell you this if you thought Caesar Flickerman was a good person, but he sided with the Capitol with Snow. Do you not remember Caesar Flickerman interviewing Peter? Do you not remember Caesar Flickerman announcing that the girl on fire died in a really vicious, passive-aggressive way? Do you have a recollection of Mockingjay at all? Caesar Flickerman is not going to be the perspective of this, guys. And second of all, I know I'm getting distracted a little bit. I've seen people debating who's going to be interviewing the tributes in the games, either Lucky Flickerman or Caesar Flickerman. And to that, I say you haven't read the books. It's Caesar Flickerman, and because they actually detail Haymitch's games for like a whole page, actually, I feel like. Maybe even longer, I can't remember, but they detail that Caesar Flickerman interviewed Haymitch. So it's going to be Caesar Flickerman. It's like a slightly younger Caesar Flickerman. I vote to recast Stanley Tucci because I think makeup could make him look young enough. I'm just saying. Recast Stanley Tucci. I've seen a couple of people, like very minimal people, talking about Coin possibly from District 13 and her kind of like rise to power to Panem. I feel like that'd be really interesting, but also I wonder how charismatic she would be as a character compared to Snow, because we know that, you know, two sides of the same coin. But also, how involved would she be? And what kind of propaganda would be coming out of District 13? What would they be participating in? I feel like they're not in the thick of it enough until Mockingjay for Coin to be the perspective, you know? And then next, okay, finally there are two perspectives, and I'm pretty sure I've gone through everything. I do not have a list like I normally do right now. I normally have like notes on my laptop about like what I should write, like say in my videos, and I didn't write one for this because I was just gonna like talk at a camera, which I have been. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned everyone that I have to mention. I'm like trying to go through it in my head. It's just where the cuts are in this video. The final two people, to my recollection, that the perspectives could potentially be from, and these people I'm like, I would put money on one of these two being the actual perspective, right? Plutarch, Heavensby, and Effie Trinket. I personally think yes for both of them. Also, multiple perspectives is something people have been talking about. I was talking about this to another content creator about like a multiple perspectives, Sue, who I collaborated with in a previous video on my channel. You can see Bubblesue on my channel with Bubblesue for a Hunger Games video if you guys are interested. And we both agreed that like people are just trying to squish all these perspectives into the video, into the novel because they want to see like so many different perspectives of this period of time. Don't think that it's actually going to happen though. But with Plutarch and Effie, I think both these characters would be about the right age. We don't actually know how old they exactly are because Canis in the novels kind of just guesses, and she doesn't really understand ages. Because like when you're a teenager, did you really understand how old people looked? I still don't understand how old people look. I'll be like, oh, they look 25. And it turns out they're 40, and I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I clearly don't know what a 25-year-old looks like. Let's not even talk about that. But Effie and Plutarch, if we want to make a guesstimate, I would say they're about teenagers during the time of the 50th Hunger Games. And I think Effie would be a really interesting perspective because we know that eventually over time, in the movies it's a little more obvious, but because they changed their storyline a little bit, which I am very grateful for. That's the one change that I was like, yes, good job. Creators of, I don't remember who the director is, but creators of Mockingjay, great job. Like the storyline for Effie. Effie gets captured by the Capitol in the books and it's really sad. But in the movies, she's in District 13. Yay! Woo! So exciting. But Effie, we know she changes a lot over time when it comes to propaganda. I think it'd be really interesting to see what she thought, and as a capital citizen, maybe she recently got an internship with Tigress. Who knows? Maybe she's working with Tigress as a stylist at first, and then she becomes an escort for District 12. You know, she's working her way up through escort, and you know, working with Tigress, that'd be very interesting, but I don't know if that had actually happened since she got stuck with District 12 as a capital escort. But you know, who knows? Effie I just think would be really interesting, especially since everyone's headcanoned Haymitch and Effie to be together. In the book, it's not actually stated if it's canon or not, but I would say that in the movies, it's definitely canon. I think with Effie's and Haymitch's relationship, it's definitely different per book and movie universes. I like to think in the book it just happened in a different way. So that's what, and it just happened earlier in the movies to make it explicit. Because, you know, book to movie translations. I keep rambling in this video, but Effie being the perspective I think would give us a lot of really good insights. Now on to Plutarch. Plutarch, I'm betting the Effie and Plutarch are comments that I actually stole from my own comment section. Like these are other people's theories that I've kind of like added onto. So if you want to go onto my Sunrise on the Reaping reaction video, you know, where I was talking about the new book release, you'll be able to see it on my channel. You can see all the comments. A lot of people saying Effie and Plutarch. Plutarch, personally, I'm like, yes, Plutarch is going to be the perspective. Definitely. Because Plutarch's the propaganda guy. In Mockingjay, he makes the propos. The themes of propaganda. Who else would Suzanne Collins be going with? You know, Haymitch also very likely doesn't have a mentor in his Hunger Games when everyone else probably does by this point. I don't know for sure, but it's likely that he does. So, or everyone else does, he doesn't. So I'm thinking Plutarch maybe is implemented as a mentor. You know, they take a little bit of advice from the 10th Hunger Games and the failure of capital mentors from the 10th Hunger Games. And I'm thinking maybe 18-year-old recently entered college/university, whatever they call it in the Hunger Games world. In America, it's college, so I'm just assuming it's college. Recently college freshman, I think that's what you guys call it. Freshman, Plutarch is a freshman, right? And he's like interning for Snow or whoever the head game maker is at the time, and they give him Haymitch as a tribute to like mentor, to help out, to figure out like how to make this quarter quill really good. I reckon I can definitely see it happening and seeing like the progression from the 10th Hunger Games all the way to this quarter quill. I think it'd be really, really interesting to see Plutarch. Like, I'm willing to like put $100 on it. I'm not actually gonna bet because I am not a betting woman. Like, I'm like Cinna. You know, Cinna wasn't allowed to bet. I'm not allowed to bet. Why? Because I'm broke. But Plutarch has got to be the perspective. Like, I saw the comments on my comment section. I'm like, oh my god, you geniuses. Plutarch's going to be the perspective that this novel is going to be about. He's going to be the narrator. And if Plutarch's the narrator, I'm willing to bet that it's also going to be first person, and we're going to like really see his innermost thoughts. And it's going to be like this biased narrative, but at the same time, he's like got an awareness of it. And he's like, oh, the capital's so great, but oh my god, what about Haymitch? Oh, the capital's amazing. It's done all of this for me and my family. Oh my god, but what about all the tributes who've died? Like, I feel like it's going to be like that back and forth, like pulling him in. He's like, no, I won't fall for it. And then they try to pull him back in. And he's like, no. And then he realizes the only way to really take them down is to get into the head of Snow and to stay with the capital, pretend to stay with the capital and work the rebellion behind the scenes. Like, would that not be so cool? Like, I could see it happening. Sunrise on the Reaping and Plutarch is sitting there thinking, you know, is the Hunger Games, right? The Reaping. Like, Sunrise could be like symbolic of some, oh my god, don't even get me started. I think it's Plutarch. I think definitely the Sunrise is like the beginning of Plutarch's change of mind, you know? That's when if I'm wrong, I'm gonna cry. But also, I reckon it's gonna be like really, really interesting whoever ends up being the narrator. Alright guys, that is the end of the video. I would love to know who you think the perspective of this novel, Sunrise on the Reaping, is going to be about. It's probably going to be revealed very soon who the narrator is going to be as well. So get your comments in fast. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and I am so close. So I'd really appreciate if you did subscribe. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed, but I've been CJ and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.